I'm on my way right now to take care of an extra little fix for a customer whose garland fell down, and I figured there's no better time than now to talk about seasonal maintenance with service guarantees and repair work for Christmas lights. Now, with Christmas lights, there's a guarantee that you're going to have something go wrong during the season. Whether it's because it got really stormy and wind caused the branches to just grab and pull the lights off, or maybe a squirrel got squirrely on you and chewed through some wires and they thought vandals came through, and the vandals were the rodents. Whatever the case may be, you're going to need to go back to some of the projects that you worked on to do a little TLC. And so, since I do the leasing model, I include that with the process. A lot of people will sell the lights, and with that, there's kind of this idea that they're the customer's lights, they have to deal with the problems. And I've tried to move away from that altogether, and I let my customers know I have their backs. And that's part of why I can charge a premium, because I can afford to take a little gap of my time, and I just try to work it into the regular workflow, where I have, from the beginning, a guarantee that within 72 hours of them notifying me about a particular issue, I will be there to address it and fix it. Whether it's the power is not working because of a storm, or because with LED lights, there's no excuse for why the power wouldn't be working other than a bad GFI switch, which has happened. But all that to say, I guarantee them that I'm going to be there, and then I follow up on my guarantee. That 72-hour cushion gives me enough time where I can get there. I'm usually within a short radius for all of my Christmas light installs. I try to keep that fairly tight. Now, if you're working a little further out, say you have to drive over a half hour to a particular location from where you were located centrally, then you might want to say something more along the lines of, every Saturday we make repair works. And so I've met a good installer in my area, and that's how he does it. He just says, we do repair work on Saturdays. So if you let me know on Sunday, I'm going to be out there the next Saturday. If you let me know on Friday night, I'll be out there on Saturday. So every Saturday he goes around and does any of the repair work that's necessary, whether lights fell down. I already went through the spiel. All kinds of things come up. So right now I had some garland that got picked up by the wind, and it sounds like one of the lag bolts that had screwed into the mortar came loose. And so I just have to go take a look at it. Maybe the strings just kind of got severed, and I'm going to go ahead and fix it. So I do the 72-hour guarantee. I used to do 48 hours, but then I realized my customers don't really need that. They just got to let me know. And once they let me know, it's checked off their list. They just can trust that I'm going to be there. I'm going to make it right. Now, I usually rely on the customers to let me know what's going wrong. But there's a story of something that just happened the other night. I do a few customers in my own neighborhood. They don't necessarily know that I live there, but I happened to be driving down, and I saw that somebody had hot glued lights to the window frame, and there just happened to be a bush right next to that window, and so I kind of knew something might come up. And we had really bad winds. I'm in north of DFW, and you can get some heavy winds if there's a storm coming through. So heavy being like 40 to 50 miles per hour, right? So that was enough to rattle the bush, and those bushes and trees, they just kind of grab the lights and pull it down. They don't like us. Nature doesn't like us. So try to trim up everything you can, or ask the customers to trim up all the bushes and trees before you install. This one hadn't done that, so I had that gut feeling. And all that to say, the leaves fell down. The customer hadn't reached out to me yet. So I just showed up. It was the evening. They happened to be getting ready to go out to a concert. So they caught me while I was just next to their driveway. And he was shocked that he hadn't called me. He told me he was going to wait a couple of weeks, and when he felt like the season might be dying down, then he'd let me know so that I could come and fix it. We're before Thanksgiving anyways, so he wasn't in a rush. But since I noticed it, I was next to his driveway already, ready to go, and he spotted me and he was shocked. He's like, thank you so much. That's top-notch customer service. Apparently, in the past, they had an installer who was cheaper than me, and that installer would not come to repair any of the work. They didn't want to come at all without charging $50 for a service call. And so I assured him, I was like, hey, I'm not charging you anything. I got you. Don't worry about a thing. If anything else goes wrong, just let me know right away and I'll get back out to fix it. Because I build that into my margin. I charge extra so that I can give my customers that assurance that I got your back. You're not going to have a Christmas Eve or a Christmas night with your lights not working. And so I've built that trust into my customer base, and it's made them very sticky, very loyal to me. And so I charge a premium. I've been doing it enough years where my schedule gets packed in, and I just build in a little bit of margin so that usually it's in the evening time after the lights are on. It's easier to troubleshoot anyways. I just plan on stopping by and doing a couple repair works on my way home. I finish up right around sunset, usually 5 o'clock or so, and I'll go out and make repairs. Once the season is well underway, things slow down in December. So you get closer to Christmas and you get a big storm, you just kind of expect, okay, tomorrow I'm going to have to go troubleshoot a little bit. And so when you can give that kind of service to the customers, they notice it and they tell their neighbors. Their neighbors might have gotten charged about half as much by a landscaper, but then the landscaper doesn't come back to fix it. I have a neighbor right now, they hired somebody for cheap and they've got some lights hanging down. I'm thinking about just being a good neighbor and going over there to fix it for them. But whatever I do, that's just one of those things where if you do it, it sets you apart and it makes them trust you and love you and be loyal to you and share about you. They become those raving customers that tell everybody else, and it's like walking billboards. And every year, when you're raising your prices year after year because your schedule gets tighter and you have less room, you're going to have those people who are willing to pay a premium telling their neighbors about how great you are compared to the other guys who charge half and don't come back. And it builds your clout, it builds, like, you get a stellar reputation so that when you're telling a referral about your price, I think my close rate for referrals is like 70% or so. It's in that range, within 10%, give or take. If you're doing straight up, cold marketing, postcards or Facebook outreach, you're going to get closer to like 20% close rate, especially if you have higher prices and there's a bunch of people willing to work for cheap, because there's other people advertising who are charging less, and that's okay. They do their thing. So my close rate's a lot smaller with that because I'm more expensive, and no matter how good you are at sales, it's hard to beat half price until year 2. And that happens a lot where people say no the first year, they hire somebody cheaper, and then year 2 or year 3, they get frustrated, something stops working. Those other people start raising their prices because they were new to the business and thought they could do it for cheaper, and it just doesn't work out for them in the end. They go out of business or they raise the prices to stay competitive. So all that happens and they get disgruntled, and then they come and call me and ask for a new quote, and typically I'll charge them a little bit more than what I had told before because my prices raise year after year. My loyal customers, I lock them in at that price. I let them know year 1, they're locked in for 3 years minimum. And then I raise just a few percent a year, 5% maybe, just to make sure that I'm keeping up with inflation. Thankfully, I've already provided the lights in year 1, so the expense goes down for year 2, 3, 4, and 5. And sometimes with the really high-end LED lights, you can go up to 10 years with the same lights not going out. I use Minleon bulbs, by the way. They're fantastic. Minleon. I'll leave an Amazon link in the description, but wherever you buy your bulbs, Minleon, I just can't say enough good about that particular brand. Their bulbs hold up. I'm never replacing a burnt out bulb that's a Minleon bulb. I'm only replacing the socket because it loses connection and it's bad socket wire, or it just got rattled by a bird, or for whatever reason it loses contact. Those bulbs, you have the socket and the bulb goes into it, and there's a little piece right here where the metal connects, and if that bulb untwists, it pulls back and loses contact, and so you're not going to have electricity. You tighten that bulb back in, it reaches contact again, and it comes back on. So sometimes that happens on day 1. I install it all, it gets cold at night, and so it's like the metal just kind of shrinks back a little bit. So it was touching, but then cold air makes things contract, and so it just barely loses contact. So you twist it a little bit and you're good to go. Sometimes that little spring that's at the bottom of the socket, it's kind of like, it's shaped like that, right? It's a little hook type of shape. And if you put different bulbs have different little ends to it. I'll show you real quick. This is a Minleon C7. But you see how it's relatively flat? Some of them have a little piece that sticks out of there, and they don't have the little plastic piece. And so that pushes down a little bit harder, and so it can get flattened out. And so then if you go try to replace the bulbs, every once in a while, I'll let my customers, since they're leasing, I let them know they can switch out the bulbs. I've only had to do about 3 times in the past 5 years. And so if I use non-Minleon bulbs, they push that little contact piece, the spring, they push it too far and it flattens out. So then you put in a Minleon bulb and it doesn't quite fit. So I have to replace the socket or use different socket wire, or just tighten that a little bit more. So you got little things you're going to have to do. But I'm getting off subject. Back to the main line. If you come and you do repair work, especially if they don't ask you, they notice it. Sometimes you might need to say, hey, I was driving by your neighborhood last night. I noticed you had a bulb that was off, or a piece of wire hanging, or extension cord that was loose. You just send them a text message saying, hey, I noticed this. I just want to let you know I took care of it for you and you're good to go. Let me know if anything else comes up. And that makes them love you. And you need that in this business, because they're going to tell their friends, you're going to get more customers. Word of mouth is the best way to get premium customers in this line of business. It's a lot cheaper than doing postcards. It's a lot cheaper than doing Facebook ads. It's a lot cheaper than doing Google ads. All those things are getting more expensive every year, but word of mouth simply takes good customer service, integrity, and just showing up. So guys, show up for your customers, give them a great service agreement, let them know you'll take care of them year long, and you'll make them loyal, you'll make them sticky, you'll make them love you to the point where they tell all their neighborhood about you, and you're going to grow bigger and stronger over the long haul. So guys, I'll see you in the next video.